Daily Learning.
Hey guys, just like the last video, we are gonna read a story again to improve your understanding in English. This story is gonna help you practice your reading and listening skills, pick up some everyday vocabulary, and see how native-style English sounds in real life. Plus, it's told in a friendly and in a simple way. So whether you're a beginner or intermediate learner, you'll totally get it. Ready? Let's get into it. The class he loved and the one he didn't. In a high school, there was a student named Jordan. He was a regular high school boy. Funny, a bit shy, and someone who preferred sneakers over fancy shoes. Like most students, Jordan had a mix of feelings when it came to school. Some days were great, and some just dragged on forever. You know, Jordan loved stories. Since he was little, he liked reading books, comics, and even silly cereal box stories during breakfast. So when he got to high school and started learning more about novels, poems, and how to write essays, he felt like he was in his element. He loved how English class allowed him to think creatively. When his teacher asked the class to write a short story, Jordan always had tons of ideas. He would sit in front of his notebook and just let his imagination run wild. Once, he wrote a story about a boy who could hear people's thoughts after eating a magical piece of candy. His teacher even read it aloud in class and said it was surprisingly original. That moment stayed with him. Another thing Jordan liked about English was that there were no exact answers. Unlike other classes where things had to be correct or wrong, English gave him space to explain his thoughts and defend his opinions. If Jordan said a poem reminded him of a rainy day or a lonely weekend, and he had reasons for it, then that was okay. His ideas mattered. Reading books in class was fun for him too. While some students groaned when the teacher handed out a new novel, Jordan couldn't wait to dive into it. He liked imagining the characters, their problems, and how they would solve them. Sometimes he even read ahead at home because he was too curious to wait for the next class. In other side, different from English class, Jordan seems dislike math, especially when ITU comes to something without number. But don't get it wrong, Jordan didn't hate math. It just felt like a mountain he couldn't climb. You know how it feels, right? While some of his classmates seemed to get it instantly, Jordan often found himself staring at the board, completely lost. Equations, formulas, and graphs looked like a different language to him. When the teacher explained something, Jordan would nod like he understood, but deep down, he was confused. Sometimes even after doing the homework, he still didn't feel sure about anything. The worst part was test day. Jordan would study hard the night before, practice problems and try to memorize the steps. But when the test paper was in front of him, his brain would freeze. He would forget what formula to use or mix up the steps. It was frustrating. What made it harder was that math didn't feel creative to him. Honestly, it felt strict. You had to follow the rules exactly or your answer was wrong. That made Jordan nervous. He preferred subjects where he could explain his thinking and not be judged for every small mistake. But here's the thing, Jordan didn't give up. Even though math was tough, he still went to extra help sessions. He asked questions even when he was shy, and he kept trying. Sometimes, Jordan thought about how different math and English were. English felt like painting with words, messy, emotional, and personal. Meanwhile, math felt like building a machine. It's more precise, exact, and logical. He realized that people just have different strengths. Some of his friends loved math and hated English, and that was okay. Jordan also learned that not liking a subject didn't mean he couldn't succeed in it. And loving a subject didn't mean it was always easy. In the end, Jordan knew that school wasn't just about liking or disliking classes. It was about discovering what you enjoy, understanding what challenges you, and learning more about yourself in the process. He still looked forward to English class the most. It was the place where he felt confident and creative. But he also started to see value in math, not because it was fun, but because it made him stronger. And that made all the difference. Alright guys, that's it for today's story about Jordan and his ups and downs with school subjects. So, what about you? Do you have a favorite class that makes you excited, or one that totally makes your brain hurt? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Hi, it's me again. Today, I want to share a little story about my very first day at high school. Was kind of a mess, kind of fun, and definitely something I'll never forget. Stick around till the end, because I'll also give you a list of useful English words from the story that you'll definitely want to know. Let's get started. My first day at high school. I still remember my first day at high school like it was yesterday. I woke up super early even though I barely slept the night before. Actually, I was both excited and nervous, which is probably why I kept tossing and turning in bed. After forcing myself get out of bed, I put on my new uniform and checked myself in the mirror 100 times. It looked okay, I guess. My mom insisted on taking pictures before I left, which was kind of embarrassing, but I let her do it anyway. She even shouted,
"Good luck, honey,"
as I walked out the door like I was going to war or something. When I got to school, everything felt big and unfamiliar. The building looked huge compared to my old middle school. There were students everywhere, some chatting in groups, some hurrying through the hallways, and others just standing around looking cool and confident. Meanwhile, I was gripping my bag like it was my life jacket on a sinking ship. My first class was English, and luckily, the teacher seemed nice. He smiled a lot and even played some music before class started to help everyone relax. I sat next to a guy named Jake. He looked friendly and actually started a conversation with me. We talked about our favorite video games, and it felt like we had known each other for longer than 5 minutes. Between classes, I got lost more than once. At one point, I walked into the wrong classroom and the teacher was already teaching. I just stood there like a deer in headlights until someone whispered,
"You're in the wrong room."
I apologized and quickly walked out. At that time, my face burning right away. Lunchtime was kind of awkward. The cafeteria was loud and crowded. I didn't know where to sit, but then Jake saw me and waved me over to his table. He introduced me to his friends and they were actually really chill. We laughed a lot, especially when someone told a story about accidentally calling a teacher mom. After lunch, the rest of the day went by faster. The teachers gave us syllabi and talked about what to expect this year. Some classes seemed fun, but others, not so much. Math already looked scary actually, I'm not gonna lie. I also joined a line for the school club fair and signed up for the photography club, which I'm really looking forward to. By the time the final bell rang, I was tired but happy. My first day wasn't perfect, but it also wasn't a total disaster. I didn't trip, I made a few friends, and I even found my way around by the end of the day. Not bad for day one, right? I guess high school isn't going to be easy, but maybe it won't be so bad either. So yeah, that was my first day at high school. Now, as promised, here's a quick list of important words from the story. Thanks for watching.
A day in my life as a bakery. I wake up before the sun, always. My bricks still hold the coolness of a night, and the scent of yesterday's bread lingers gently in the air. At exactly 4:30 in the morning, when I'm already in my bakery, I hear my front door creaks open. It is always the baker, Mr. Lewis. His footsteps are familiar and slow at first, as if his body still clings to sleep. But the moment he turns on the lights, I can feel the energy shift. My ceiling hums with electricity, my ovens begin to wake, and the faint sound of jazz floats from the old radio by the flour sacks. In the kitchen, the flour begins to fly like snow in a silent storm. The metal mixing bowls clink softly like tiny bells ringing in a faraway land. Dough is stretched and folded, patted and shaped with love and strength. I listen to the rhythm of hands against bread. It is the sound of care, of tradition. I have heard this sound every day for 30 years. By 6, I'm no longer alone. The air grows warmer, filled with the buttery smell of croissants and the sweet perfume of cinnamon rolls. My shelves are dusted clean, and the glass display case is wiped until it shines like a mirror. Outside, the sky is turning soft blue. A few birds land on my awning, peeking in through the windows like old friends who know they're welcome. At 7, the bell above my door rings with its cheerful jingle. The first customer is always Mrs. Ellison. She wears the same beige coat and smiles like she's seeing an old friend. She always buys 2 baguettes and 1 almond tart. Her hands are wrinkled but steady. When she leaves, she pats the wooden frame of my door like she's saying, "Thank you." And in a way, I think she is. One by one, more people arrive. Students on their way to school stop in for chocolate-filled pastries. Office workers grab coffee and bagels with sleepy eyes and busy hands. Children press their faces against the display glass, leaving tiny smudges as they decide between blueberry muffins or chocolate chip cookies. I love those moments. I love how their laughter bounces off my walls, how crumbs fall like stars onto my floor. I do not mind the noise or the mess. These are the signs of life, and they make me feel full. By noon, I smell of garlic, rosemary, and warm tomato sauce. The lunch crowd arrives, and the bakery transforms. Sandwiches are sliced and wrapped with care. Soup is poured into cups that warm the hands and heart. People sit by the window, reading books or chatting with friends, their voices soft and cozy like wool. But the afternoon is not always slow. There are deliveries to pack, orders to prepare, and birthdays to celebrate. Balloons and cakes, sprinkles and candles. I watch it all with joy, proud of the moments I help create. I'm not just a place of flour and yeast. I am part of people's memories. The day slows down. The rush fades. The shelves begin to empty, one by one. Crumbs are brushed away. The coffee machine sighs its last steamy breath. The baker wipes his forehead and finally takes a seat. I can feel the weight of the day on his shoulders, but also his quiet pride. By 6, the lights dim. The last tray is washed. The ovens rest in silence. Mr. Lewis stands by the window for a moment, looking out at the street bathed in fading sunlight. Then he turns off the radio, picks up his keys, and walks out the door. Now, I am alone again. The moon peeks in through the glass. My walls sigh with tired warmth. The smell of bread still lingers like a lullaby. The chairs are empty, but they remember the weight of laughter, of stories told between bites. Sometimes, when the wind is just right, I hear the voices of the day echoing in my walls. Laughter, greetings, whispers of thank you, and see you tomorrow. It makes me smile in my own quiet way. I may be bricks and glass and ovens and shelves, but I am more than that. I am a bakery, and I love every moment of the life I live.
All right, here's a little story to kick off your day. Or maybe just give you a break from everything else going on. It starts with a quiet morning, a happy kid, and something very special sitting on a plate. But things don't always go as planned. So, let's see what happens together. The curious case of the missing cupcake. It was a beautiful morning like yesterday. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, and the air smelled like fresh toast and warm blankets. In that house, a boy named Jamie woke up feeling extra happy because today felt like a cupcake kind of day. And surprisingly, that feeling is becoming true. At the same time at the kitchen, Jamie's mother had made chocolate cupcakes. Not just any cupcakes. These had chocolate chips inside, fluffy vanilla frosting on top, and were covered with colorful sprinkles. After finishing his breakfast, Jamie was given one cupcake as a treat, and he was so happy with it. He carefully placed it on his favorite plate and carried it to the living room. He set the cupcake on the coffee table and ran upstairs to grab his notebook and laptop to study. But when Jamie came back in less than 2 minutes later, the cupcake was gone. What? Where did it go? Investigation. Jamie got down on the floor and examined the table closely. This time, he looked for any clues. No crumbs, no napkins, and also no frosting on the plate. But then, right next to the table leg, he found something. It was a tiny spot of frosting. Just a dot. White, creamy, and definitely from his cupcake. Jamie stared at it for a few seconds, and then he started thinking something. After that, Jamie followed the direction the frosting seemed to point, which led him to the hallway. His mind raced. The cupcake couldn't just disappear. Someone or something had taken it. There weren't many options. Jamie lived with his mother, his dad was at work, and his older brother was at school. But there was one more creature in the house. It's his dog, Max. Jamie followed the frosting trail from the living room into the hallway. It was faint, but there were tiny smudges here and there. After that, Jamie turned the corner and walked into the laundry room. That's where he saw Max. The dog was lying on his bed and looking very, very satisfied. His tongue was sticking out just a little bit, and his paws were dirty. Jamie leaned closer. He sees Max's nose had a tiny white dot on it. So, this is it. It all pointed to one answer. Max had stolen the cupcake. Jamie sighed. He wasn't mad, okay, maybe just a little mad, but mostly, he was impressed. Max had pulled off a sneaky snack mission in under 2 minutes. That was fast, too fast. Later that afternoon, Jamie told his mother what had happened. She laughed and gave him a hug. Instead of getting upset, she offered to bake more cupcakes the next day. They both agreed. From now on, all cupcakes would be placed on high counters, far away from curious dog noses. And just like that, the mystery was solved. No cupcake, no crumbs, but a very guilty dog. Hope you enjoyed tagging along on this little cupcake investigation. Keep practicing every day. And don't give up on your study. See you soon.
Hi, I am Jojo. And the place you see right now is my car repair shop. It may look old and a bit worn down, but this place has been mine for over 20 years. I started it when I was just 25 with little more than a second-hand jack, a rusty toolbox, and a stubborn dream. My hands were clean back then, but now they're rough and stained with grease. Marks of a life spent fixing what's broken. Actually, each morning begins the same way. I unlock the gate, breathe in the scent of oil and metal, and start working long before most people have finished their first cup of coffee. Some say this place is dirty or loud, but to me, it's music. The clank of tools, the hum of an engine coming back to life. These are the sounds that make me feel alive. I've seen all kinds of people walk through that door. Some just need a quick tire change or oil top-up. Others come in with stories written in the scratches and dents of their vehicles. Like Rio, a nervous young guy who rushed in one day, driving his dad's beat-up car that had broken down right before a job interview. I saw the panic in his eyes, so I dropped everything, fixed the belt, cleaned the throttle body, and got it running again. He looked at me like I'd save his life. All I said was, "Go get that job, kid." And he did. That's what this shop is really about. It's not just nuts and bolts, but it's a trust from them. People come here because they know I care. They know I'll treat their car like it matters, even if it's falling apart. There were hard times too. Some months, customers were few, and bills piled up. I even slept in a back room once or twice when I couldn't afford to go home. But I stayed. I stayed because I believed in this place. It wasn't just where I worked, it was where I found purpose. My dad, who wasn't an emotional man, visited once. He walked around quietly, took it all in, and simply said, "This is yours. You built this." It was the most meaningful thing he ever said to me. I once had a helper, a smart young guy named Lehman. He learned fast, and after a few years, he opened his own shop in the city. He still visits sometimes, brings coffee, tells me how he keeps a picture of this old garage on his office wall. Says it reminds him where he started. I'm proud of that. Sometimes I think about what could have been. Maybe a cleaner, fancier job, a dealership with uniforms and air conditioning. But I'd have missed out on all these stories, like the old man who refused to give up the truck he'd driven for 40 years, or the couple whose wedding car I fixed an hour before the ceremony. My body's not as strong as it used to be. My back aches, my fingers are slower, but I keep going. I have a notebook near the counter full of scribbles and dates where I write down the cars I've fixed. If someone read it, they wouldn't just see repairs, they'd see a lifetime. And maybe one day, when I'm too old to hold a wrench, I'll sit by the entrance and watch someone new carry on the work. I'll tell them stories of engine failures, last-minute miracles, and the quiet joy of fixing something that matters to someone. So yes, this is my place. The roof leaks, the lights flicker, and the floor is always dirty. But every corner holds a memory. I'm Jojo, and this is my car repair shop, where I fix more than just cars. Sometimes, I fix people's days, and that's enough for me.